Hello, everyone. Welcome to Free Write Friday. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jessica Lynn Johnson. I am the founder and the CEO of Soaring Solo Studios, which is a company that is dedicated to developing, directing, and producing one-person plays all over the world. And I am blessed to work alongside Heather Dowling, who is another award-winning director, developer, and coach and solo artist herself. So together we make up Soaring Solo. And as I said, we get to work with people all over the globe thanks to Zoom. So we love what we do. And I'll give you a little background about myself as a solo performer. So I've been in this field for over 20 years. I directed and developed about 200 solo shows at this point and have produced hundreds. It's certainly my passion because I'm also a solo artist myself. I toured for several, like over a decade with my two solo shows. My first one was called Oblivious to Everyone. My second solo show was called Z. And I have ideas percolating for a third solo show. I'm also a director and teaching artist with the Los Angeles Women's Theater Festival, and I'm a blogger for the NoHo Arts website. So if you go to the NoHo Arts website and look up Soaring Solo, you'll find a bunch of blogs about being a solo artist and tips and techniques for that. So that's a little bit about me. I would love to hear from you. Please say hi in the chat. Let me know where in the world you're tuning in from, or maybe where you're at in your solo theater journey. Maybe you're just curious about doing a solo show, but not fully committed to it yet. Maybe you're already touring the world with many solo shows under your belt, or somewhere in between. Wherever you're at is perfect. And if you're watching this back on YouTube, you can use the comments as well. So the mission of Free Write Friday is really just to give us a place to gather together in supportive, creative community, to have accountability, and to write, because we have to write to be writers, and we have to write to create scripts to be solo artists. So it's just such an important part of the process, and it's hard to get motivated to do it on our own. So Free Write Friday really aims to help light that fire under you and help you feel supported and accountable. And if you miss any of the Free Write Friday sessions that I've been doing for the last few years, if you go to my YouTube channel, just look up Soaring Solo Studios on YouTube. You'll find all of my different Free Write Friday videos there, and that will definitely help you complete a script. So unlike my Saturday class, in the Free Write Fridays, I just walk you through a writing prompt, you write it, and that's it. We don't do Q&A here or share our work here. It's really just a place to write. So last time we were, and we're still focusing on the therapy model that's called internal family systems. And we're using that therapy model as a way to look at how can we discover characters through that modality. So if you've never heard of internal family systems, or IFS, it's a type of therapy that believes that essentially we're all made up of different parts or sub-personalities. It was created by Dr. Richard Schwartz, and he thought of the mind as an inner family. And the concept is that we all have several parts living within us that fulfill both healthy and unhealthy roles. So last time we looked at the true self, the core self. That was the character that we wrote about. But today we're going to look at a part of self that IFS entitles firefighters, the firefighters within us. So a firefighter is the part of us that is reactive and protective. It's impulsive. It goes to extreme measures to try to suppress traumatic or overwhelming emotional pain, things like that. So it can show up in ways like excessive alcohol or drug use, or binge watching television, compulsive shopping, doom scrolling on social media, self-harm, anger or rage outbursts. Really any form of addiction or intense behavior, you could call that a firefighter. And even though these behaviors might give us temporary relief, they really don't address the underlying issues, and they can really lead to a cycle of avoidance and harm. And when we're thinking of that in a theatrical way, it's the dramatic tension and the obstacles that the protagonist keeps running up against because they're doing their own self-harm and getting in their own way, so to speak. So let's see. Some other characteristics of the firefighter parts. They are quick to put out the fire when they are feeling emotional pain. So they just want to do whatever they can to put out that fire, to not feel those feelings. Numbing is a big thing that firefighters want to do with using distraction or disassociation or substances to really numb those negative feelings. Impulsivity, like we talked about just a moment ago, acting fast, not considering the long-term consequences. Reactivity, being explosive or disorganized. Um, Extreme behaviors such as self-harm, addiction, violence, and those behaviorally look like drug use and gambling. It could be binging, shopping sprees, reckless behaviors, gaming, binge watching television, cutting, self-harm, thoughts of suicide, angry outbursts, or destructive behaviors. And the goal of the firefighter, again, is just to really prevent us from feeling overwhelming pain or reliving traumas. So it's not, it's not an angel devil kind of, it's not the devil character that's just our enemy. It's, I would almost call it a frenemy part because it thinks what it's doing is good. It's trying to help us. It just has a terrible set of tools in its tool belt. So I'll give you some examples from some solo shows in our community that I would consider examples of firefighters. So in the show Breakup Addict, Paige Wilhide has a character named Addict, and Addict is this kind of darkly comedic, almost like Valley Girl character who gives Paige tons of terrible ideas for how to deal with her pain or her loneliness or whatever she's going through. But as we dig deeper and go through the show, we find out that Paige, when she was a little girl, her sister died very prematurely when Paige was very little. And that trauma created a hole within her that she was trying to fill with her love addiction. So Addict's character is really trying to mask that pain, fill that hole, but it doesn't actually have anything of substance that can rectify that initial trauma. So that's an example. We also have the show Mom, Are You There by Mary Basmajian. And she has a character called Edie, and Edie stands for eating disorder. And this is another example of a firefighter character because Edie would tempt Mary with overeating and binging and specifically really unhealthy foods or large portions of food. But as the show unfolds, we learn that Mary had a really neglectful um, mother, and this created again this need to fill this hole or escape that pain of those memories and the impact of that mother-daughter relationship. And so Edie, the character, was born. Her eating disorder was born. And so we see the relationship between the two of them throughout the show. So those are some examples of firefighter characters that think they're doing a good thing in your life. They're trying to help you from feeling pain, but they're really just making it so much worse. So what I want you to do for the writing exercise today is to try to think of a painful memory or maybe something traumatic in your life that you've tried to heal or numb yourself from or avoid using tools that maybe in the long run were harmful and made it worse. And that should bring up for you a firefighter character. So I want you to think about who is that firefighter character for you? What bad ideas did they offer you to try to avoid feeling pain and reliving trauma? And maybe write a monologue from their perspective, from the perspective of that firefighter, whatever you would call that character. Or maybe you could just write as yourself about what that looked like in your life, whatever feels good. You can always write poetry or song lyrics. I don't want to limit you in what you can write, but just focus on those themes and see what comes up for you. I'm going to set my clock for 8 minutes and I will let you know when your time is up. Thank you, everyone. About 4.5 minutes left, 4.5 minutes. A little over 1 minute. Okay, please go ahead and wrap up your writing. Hopefully you made some interesting discoveries doing that. And one of the takeaways I would say from this particular exploration is that, solo theater is such an effective agent of change in audience transformation and personal transformation and healing. And, using the examples of Paige and Mary, they really bravely, vulnerably shared about not only the traumas and wounds that they had experienced in their childhoods, but they were also brave enough to share about the detours and the harmful choices that they made trying to avoid feeling that pain. And that gives the audience permission to reflect upon their own lives and look at the choices that we're making as audience members in our own lives that might be detrimental to our healing. And so it's just a really powerful thing to not feel alone in our shared traumas as human beings and our human ways of handling and dealing with those things. And hopefully, by the end of our solo show and also throughout our lives, we're able to find healthier tools, which both Paige and Mary did offer, different insights on healthier, more healing ways of going about dealing with the pain and trauma. So yeah, just something to think about and continue to mull over as you're writing your solo shows. And you'll see in the chat, at least if you're joining me on Zoom and not watching this back on YouTube, you'll see in the chat that I put the announcements of things happening in the Soaring Solo community. So we are all about community in Soaring Solo. It is a solo show, but it takes a community to make it happen. You definitely don't want to go down this path alone. So first up, we have my next free 90-minute class, The Art of Creating the One-Person Show, is going to be happening on Saturday, October 18th. 10 a.m. Pacific, noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern. Just sign up on my website under free stuff. And again, that's a 90-minute class. And in that forum, you're able to share the work that you've written. So if you wrote something today that you'd like to share in the Saturday morning class and get my feedback and your peers' feedback, that's what that space is for. And if you ever wanted to work with me or with Heather in a more professional capacity, of course, we offer that too. You could just email me at soaringsoloartist@gmail.com, or you could fill out one of the contact forms on the soaringSoloStudios.com website. We do initial consultations for $69 for an hour on Zoom, or if that's too steep for you at this moment, we have small group coaching that we do. It's $39 for a 2-hour basically writer's room or performance room with other solo artists that I lead, and Heather leads those sometimes as well, but I predominantly do the small groups. So yeah, email if you're interested in learning about either of those things. I'm a big believer of putting a stake in the ground. So, I've worked with people who, before we met, they'd been having dreams of doing a solo show for sometimes decades, and still hadn't made it happen. And so I believe that if we don't put a stake in the ground, it's not going to happen. It's going to remain this nebulous thing that just kind of floats around in our minds and doesn't ever manifest. So one particular stake you could consider is the Revealed virtual reading series that Heather and I do. And basically, the solo artist reads their scripts on Zoom to a virtual audience. And then we do a talk back afterwards with the audience and find out what's working, what's not working about the script, because that's such an important part before you go through putting it on stage, memorizing it, paying for the theater, all the different things that go into mounting a solo show. You want to make sure that you have a solid script. And so doing a reading is a really important part of that process. So you can email me about Revealed and we can discuss how to get you involved with that if that sounds like something you'd be interested in. My next Free Write Friday, if you enjoyed today and want to come back, is happening October 10th, Friday, October 10th, 10 a.m. Pacific, noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern. And you just sign up the same way that you did today on my website under free stuff. And again, if you missed any Free Write Fridays, go to my YouTube channel. I put the link in the chat. And I've got hundreds of videos, not just Free Write Friday, but lots of other free content to help you on your solo journey. And then going back to the idea of putting stakes in the ground, I'm a huge festival advocate. I think that being a part of a theater festival or an arts festival that will allow solo shows to be a part of it is such a great way to build your accolades, build your solo theater resume, meet like-minded creative people and network and all those things, potentially get reviews, nominations, awards, and then just having the experience of doing your show sometimes multiple times if you get a run in a festival. So There's the Binge Fringe Festival that's coming up in October, November. Several members of the Soaring Solo community were official selections of the Binge Fringe at the Santa Monica Playhouse. It's a free festival. It's free to all who attend, and the solo artists are paid a stipend for their performing. And so you can find that out under the events page on my website and see which shows are part of that. There's also the Orlando Fringe, which has been around for a really long time and is a wonderful fringe festival. I think their process is by lottery. I think you have to be selected by lottery. There's the United Solo Festival, which is in New York City. They have a spring and a fall showcase. That's the largest solo theater festival in the entire world. There's also, of course, the mothership of all festivals, the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, which is, thousands of performances. And I just had a couple of clients or a few clients get back from that at the end of August. There's the Philadelphia Fringe is wonderful, the LA Women's Theater Festival, which I mentioned earlier. And then Heather and I are gearing up to do the Soaring Solo Stars series at the Zephyr Theater in West Hollywood. That is happening the last week of October and the first week of November. So that's fully curated. And if you want to come by and meet me and meet Heather, or if you already know us, say hi. You can do that in WeHo at the end of October. So all of this is on my website. And then the NoHo Arts blog that I write, I also put the link for that in the chat, or you can go on my website and the NoHo Arts link is there as well. But that's a blog with tons of information for solo theater artists. And lastly, if you are in or near the LA area and you would like to work in person, Heather is teaching. We were totally sold out in September, and we're gearing up for it again in October. On October 11th and October 18th, Heather is doing her event Solo Up. And that is basically getting up on your feet with her, and up to, we only allow 10 participants. We want to keep it relatively intimate, but also still have some audience response from your peers. So you get up on your feet and you can improvise, you can read from your script, whatever stage of development you're at, and get her coaching in person. Heather is so skilled with character work. She's a wonderful writer and dramaturg. So she's just a great person to have her eyes on your script and on your technique. So that again is happening October 11th and 18th in the afternoon, 1:30 to 3:30 Pacific. If you do both weekends, it's $98 for both weekends, or if you just do one weekend, it's $59 for that one weekend. So I put the link there. It's also on my website. So that's everything. Thanks for sticking around for the announcements as well. Feel free to email me if you think of questions or anything that we didn't touch on today, but I appreciate you all being here, and have a wonderful weekend.